Hey guys, so I'm doing pretty good this morning. I was up a little after 7 and I've already cleaned the surfaces in the bathroom and swept them off the floor. So I plan on doing my hair today. So all of this is going to be different. I've been working on a menu since yesterday. I hate working on menus. I have a hard time working on menus. Anyway, so I decided I'm going to go ahead and do some videos this morning. It's been a few days since I've done any, and we're gonna get right into it. Um, it's the kitty. See? Kitty likes being in my jacket. You're alright. Come on. I'm not pregnant, I promise. Anyway, so this is out of the lasagna gardening. Okay. I did sheet composting. Alright, I read that. Alright, so where we left off was on assembling a lasagna garden. Pause this. Assembling a lasagna garden. Here we go, guys. Lasagna gardening. I'm just going to make this one a short little one because the next one is going to be slanting a lasagna garden. No, I think I'll go through that one and then the next one will be lasagna gardening in me. Okay, here we go. Assembling a lasagna garden. You've selected the perfect site and assembled all your ingredients, so let's get this lasagna garden started. First, mark the outline of the garden on the ground, with either stakes and string or a sprinkling of lime or flour. The actual size and shape of the garden are up to you. If this is your first garden, I suggest starting small. An area roughly 4 by 8 feet won't take a lot of ingredients, but will give you room to grow several different crops. Actually, a lot of different crops if you go square foot gardening. And I'm going to find my book on square foot gardening, and we're going to do that one too. After you've tried the technique once, you can quickly create new lasagna gardens to expand your plantings. For the first layer, you need something heavy to smother the existing grass and weeds. Most of the time, I use thick pads of wet newspaper. Lay them close together so the edges overlap slightly to keep weeds from sneaking through. Another good option is flattened overlapping cardboard boxes. Cardboard. Next, add a 2 to 3 inch layer of peat moss to cover the paper or cardboard. If you have paths through your lasagna garden, cover them with 4 inches of wood chips instead, and save the peat moss for the growing areas. Now spread a 4 to 8 inch layer of organic mulch material over the peat moss. Add another layer of peat moss and another layer of mulch and so on until the beds are 18 to 24 inches high. I often top the layers with a scattering of bone meal and wood ashes to provide extra phosphorus and potassium. That's it. The exact materials you'll use for your lasagna depend on what you have readily available. Every time I build a lasagna garden, I use somewhat different layers depending on the season. But the results are the same. Whatever you decide will be right. The important thing is to do it. Tips and time savers. Preparing the paper layer. When making a new garden on top of sod, use thick sections of paper. Newspaper works best if it's wet, so I soak it first in a large plastic bucket with thick rope handles. The handles make the bucket easy to drag. Surprisingly, newsprint is still readable even after being outside all winter. Sometimes I'm caught bending over in the garden and reading when I'm supposed to be working. LOL. Lasagna gardening in the spring. With the months you've spent staring out. Hang on. I'm going to try to show this and then see if I can. Oh, I'm going to try to angle it to where get a good picture of it. This right here is the sod, and the wet newspaper, the peat moss, barn litter, peat moss, compost, peat moss, grass clippings, peat moss, chopped leaves, peat moss, and then wood ash. Alright. So an example of what a finished lasagna bed might look like in a cross section with alternating layers of peat moss and organic materials. The exact materials you use to create your own lasagna beds will probably be different depending on what you have readily available. Alright, lasagna gardening in the spring. With the months you've spent staring out of the windows all winter, you've had plenty of time to choose a spot for the new lasagna garden. As soon as the ground dries enough for you to start spring cleanup, you can mark the new spot, lay down newspaper, and begin the lasagna process. There's quite a lot of material in the spring to get a lasagna garden going. If you didn't get around to cleaning up the previous fall, which is fine, as the stalks and seed heads provide food for birds, clean the gardens as soon as the ground thaws in spring and add this debris in layers to a new garden. This is also a good time to empty your compost bins. The material has had all winter to break down, so it should be nice and crumbly. I stockpile bags of leaves collected from the curb in the fall for spring use, if my neighbor can spare some. I also use horse barn litter and spoiled hay. Once you've built the layers, you can plant right away or let it cook first. And that is in planting a lasagna garden. And cooking your lasagna garden. Okay. Lasagna gardening in the fall. For the organic gardener, fall is the bountiful season. Leaves are the backbone of a new lasagna garden as well as the compost pile. I use 4 times as many chopped leaves as I do any other organic matter. You've heard the expression, I make hay while the sun shines. In autumn, it's I collect leaves till the snow falls. Fall is the time of the year when you can make real strides in soil building. Whether you are starting a new lasagna garden or rebuilding an existing one, just lay on as many layers of organic material as you can find. Worms are your hard-working soil cultivators, and the lasagna layers provide a generous supply of worm food. You can plant fall-built lasagna gardens right away. Let them cook first. See cooking your lasagna garden at the left, or just leave them to break down naturally over winter for spring planting. The first time I built a lasagna garden in late fall, I didn't finish until the first snow began to fall, and I never even thought about planting it. The next time I built a fall garden, the entire process took just an hour and it was completely planted. Everything survived the winter, and from then on, I knew I could make a garden at any time of the year and plant it right away. Alright. Cooking your lasagna garden. That's what they were talking about. One thing great about lasagna gardening is the instant result. You can create a garden from scratch and plant it all in the same day, but sometimes you may want to cook your lasagna first to reduce the height of the beds and get a loose, crumbly soil quickly. It takes a little more thought to create the right balance of organic materials to encourage heating. Put about 4 times as much brown, which is high carbon material, such as peat moss, hay, straw, and chopped leaves, stalks, and twigs as you do green, which is high nitrogen material, grass clippings, kitchen scraps, and fresh manure. Apply the material in 4 to 6 inch layers, adding a sprinkle of organic supplements such as wood ashes, bone meal, and lime, or sulfur if needed to adjust the soil's pH. If you have a ready supply of compost, by all means add layers of that also. Once the bed is 18 to 24 inches deep, I cover it with black plastic and weight down the edges with bricks. The plastic helps keep the materials moist and traps the sun's warmth for fast heating. I usually leave the plastic on for about 6 weeks. Most of the mulch will have broken down into a dark, crumbly material that's a joy to plant in. Alright. Planting a lasagna garden. A lasagna garden that's been cooked or left to decompose over winter will be dark and loose, much like deeply dug soil, so you can set out plants or sow seeds just as you would in a traditional garden. The first thing about lasagna gardening, though, is that you don't have to wait to plant. You can build the garden and plant it all in the same day. To make a planting hole in a new bed, simply pull the layers apart with your hands. Set the plant in the hole, pull the mulch back around the roots, and water it thoroughly. To sow seeds in a newly built lasagna garden, oh, my nose is just. Spread the compost or fine or damp peat moss where the seeds are to go. Then set the seeds on the surface. Sift more fine material to cover the seeds and press down. When the plants have two true leaves, the leaves that form the first pair of seed leaves, pull some of the coarser mulch material around them to keep the soil moist and weed-free. Alright, and then I'll show you these pictures. This one right here is no-dig planting. Ready to plant your new lasagna garden? Don't bother digging. Just pull the layers back with your hands, pop in a plant, and pull the mulch materials back around the roots. Simple lasagna seed beds. That's what this is. To create a good seed bed in a newly built lasagna garden, spread a row or patch of sifted finished compost or deep peat moss where you want to plant. Sow the seed on top, cover it with more compost or peat moss, then press down to firm the bed. And that was it on that one. The next one is lasagna gardening and me in my first lasagna garden. I do believe I'm going to be working outside in a couple of the garden, clearing out one of the garden areas today. It might be, I might do some work in the old raised bed garden area and the old square foot garden area. I might have to have me and Scott walk the property and see if we can find cinder blocks. Because I think I might use that around the old square foot garden area. Ugh. Not quite awake yet, guys. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get off from here and get this up there. My sinuses. And I will see you guys in a few minutes on the next video. I'm going to work really hard on getting videos out today. Probably going to be working more on those like later in the afternoon. In between stuff that we're doing. Aaron usually gets up around, well, he has to work today too, so. Yeah. I might not be on here again until after 12:30. But I will do more videos today. I'll get through the other 4 books. And I may add one more, because I think I'm going to go and look for my square foot gardening book. Because that also goes with my seed squares. Which I'll bring one of those in and show you guys in the video for that. But anyway, I'm going to get off from here, and I'm going to get this up there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Remember, do your research, you guys. It's really, 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 really important. I'll also do some more pins. And, I'm going to get into some of the other pins. And I was working in the beekeeping ones. I might do another one of those to kind of refresh my memory. I still need books on beekeeping. There's just so many. Anyway, but I'm going to get off from here, and I will see you guys in the next video. Do your research. Remember to check your subscriptions, you guys. And always make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell and click on all so you get all the notifications. I will see you guys in the next video. And Face First Farm and Homestead is out for the month for now. Bye, guys.